All right, guys, so this is a story about when internet beef goes off the rails, right? When it goes in a very, very, very disturbing direction that I honestly can't stand, okay? Now, this situation that we're going to talk about here today involves the H3H3 podcast featuring Ethan Kline and Fresh and Fit podcast that features Myron Gaines and Walter Weeks, okay? Now, I don't know if you guys know who H3H3 is. Some of you guys should be familiar with him. It's Ethan Kline. He's a guy that's had a whole lot of beef with more right-leaning YouTubers, okay? And the Fresh and Fit podcast, they're like a dating podcast. They're notorious for saying things about women that feminists don't necessarily like, okay? And that is caused them to get a whole lot of backlash. Now, these two podcasts have had some beef with each other. They've been going back and forth with each other. And this beef has now elevated into Fresh and Fit being accused of Me Too. Okay, and the person that is accusing Fresh and Fit of Me Too is a young underage girl, okay, under 21. That's what I mean by underage, above 18, but under 21, who went on their podcast and had an experience with Fresh and Fit in Miami, okay, that she is now coming out and telling to the world on the H3H3 podcast with Ethan Kline, okay? Now, I want to talk about this because this is a situation in which this young girl is telling a story that I find to be very, very, very difficult to believe, in the sense that I'm not sure if the events are actually accurate the way she's describing them, but I know for sure the way she's telling the story, at the very, very, very least, she doesn't want to take accountability for her own actions that put her in the situation that she allegedly was in. So that being said, I want to react to this and break it down because honestly, I can't stand this type of stuff. I know there's a whole lot of people that don't like Fresh and Fit. I understand why they don't like Fresh and Fit, but I think this is too far, right? When you are making these accusations against guys, okay, for interactions that, in my opinion, seems to be mostly the fault of the woman here, I think you're going a little bit too far. And Ethan Kline is also going a little bit too far in regards to having this woman come on his podcast to tell this story without asking obvious questions in regards to the holes in her story and why she put herself in the situation that she put herself in. So I want to react to this because, again, I can't stand this type of stuff. And I find this, again, to be related to the whole believe all women and the whole Me Too movement that's going on in this country that I think has really kind of got out of control and makes real situations where women are actually experiencing assault or harassment look less credible. Okay, their stories won't be believed because you have stories like this that this woman is putting out here that to me seem to be obviously bogus, again, taken away from the actual real instances of, assault or harassment. So with that being said, just to give you guys some background before we get into this woman's story, basically she and her friend was with Fresh and Fit at some pool party or something like that, and they had just got like a ride home or something, and she left her purse or wallet or whatever in their car, okay? And this is where the story is going to take off from. So let's get into it.
We got back to the apartment, and I left my wallet, and I guess it was a gift from God, but I left my wallet in Myron's car because he was the one driving, and my friend's keys were in my wallet. So we had to get the wallet back because we couldn't get back into the apartment. Mind you, it's like 5 a.m. in Miami. And we start calling Walter. He's not answering. It's like a whole game of cat and mouse. And Myron gets the wallet, and Walter was like, oh, he wants your friend's number if he's going to bring back the wallet, meaning me. So I was like, sure, like I need my wallet. Like I'm not going to text this guy anyways. So he gets my number and he brings back the wallet, and I had basically texted him saying like, don't steal my wallet, like before he put it back. And then he started talking about how I look like Tim Pool. And I was like, what?
Hey, that's the Fresh and Fit game right there. Tell the girls that they look like Tim Pool. Right? That's how you pick up girls, right? Tell them they look like Tim Pool. Wow.
Sorry? Was he?
Yeah,
is that his way of coming on to you?
I guess. I thought, I don't know. It was just, he sent me a
I tell
picture
that
of
to
Tim
Ela
Pool and said-
sometimes when I want to be really nice, when she looks really good.
And then he tried to maintain a conversation with me, like through text. And I was like, not answering him because I had gotten my wallet back. And I only had about like 3 more days I had left in my trip. And me and my friend were saying, like, it would be fun to sit here and like make him look dumb. Like, he sits here and he thinks that he can get all these women, but then a 19-year-old like doesn't rejects him. So basically he kept like texting me every day. Like, when I wouldn't respond, he would just say hello, 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 like called me. I never answered. And then eventually I was like,
a little desperate.
And I was like, if I'm gonna hang out with him, like, I'm okay to hang out with him to like, because like you can't interrupt him on the podcast, but I can interrupt you at dinner. So I basically said, you know what, yeah, if we're gonna hang out, I want to eat dinner or go to lunch. Simple. And he said, well, you can come to my place and see if you can handle me. And wow. I was like, no, he said, if you can handle this. From there, he just basically just kept texting me like every day. Like, if we're gonna go out, can Izzy and Walter?
So I want you guys to understand what's going on here, right? She's basically saying, look, I don't want to hang out with this dude. Okay. I'm not texting him back. He's continued to text me. I'm not responding. She's made it clear that she's not interested. Okay. Allegedly. Okay. But apparently she's interested enough in order to sit down at the dinner table or lunch table with him in order to simply argue with him about his views, because she doesn't like his views on the Fresh and Fit podcast. And the person I'm talking about is Myron Gaines, Fit. Okay, just so you guys understand exactly who she's talking about here. She doesn't like his views. Okay, so she wants to argue with him. She wants to go out on a date with him to argue with him. Now, Fit, Myron Gaines has made it clear what his intent is, right? His intent is not to sit down and have dinner and, to argue. That's not his intent. His intent is, you guys know what his intent is, right? You know what he's looking for. Okay, and this girl should be aware of what he's looking for and what his intent is. So I want y'all to understand, kind of what's going on here as this story unfolds, and the fact that she is aware of what his actual intent is, and something that she says that she's not interested in. Okay, she don't want to be around the guy, according to her.
So can my friend and Walter come? And he was like, oh, well, you can't leave your friend alone. And I was like, not really. Because it was basically, I never wanted to be alone with him at all. I did not want to be alone with him. And me and my friend had gone out to the club that was around her area. And when we went in there, we were doing our own thing, and Walter had showed up. And he came up to us, like, we went to his table, he was talking to us, and he comes straight up to me and he says,
so first and foremost, this girl is underage, okay? I think she's like 19 or 20 or something like that, okay? She's in a club in Miami, which means she probably got in with a fake ID. She said that she went to a club. She saw Walter, right, who is the other guy in Fresh and Fit. He's fresh, at a table, and she went up to their table, right? So again, somebody that you don't want to be around, somebody that you're trying to avoid, you end up at the same club as them for whatever reason, okay? Not only just that, when you get to the club, you're also going up to the table in which his friend, his business partner, is at, okay? So it doesn't seem like this woman is putting herself in a situation where, she's not trying to actually be around this dude or avoid the guy that she claims that she doesn't want to be around.
Myron wants you. And I said, a child? Like, on the podcast, I was sick to my stomach just being on the podcast itself. But like, just being in his presence, like, later in the night, I felt very sick because it was just weird. I also tried getting Myron out to the club. So again, like, I didn't want to be alone with him. So Walter, my friend, was like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, let's get food with each other. And Walter looked over and like signaled her, like, no, like, we're not doing that. So eventually, like, we pull up in front of the podcast apartment, and Myron's coming out of the building, and I get out of the car, and Walter leaves with my friend and took her to like another club. So I'm with Myron by myself. So we get into his car and he drives it like this, like.
So again, are you guys picking up on why I believe this story is bogus? Again, hey, believe all women, right? Believe all women. I'm not saying this story didn't happen the way she said it has happened. What I'm saying is that what she's implying in regards to this being some type of situation where, she was taken advantage of or something like that, I'm not necessarily sure if I'm believing the whole Me Too part of it, okay? Because she says, I don't want to be alone with this guy. She said that multiple times, okay, throughout this story. And what ends up happening is that For whatever reason, she goes along with this guy's business partner that she says she doesn't want to be around, ends up taking the same car with this man and her friend back to their apartment or whatever, right? The apartment where Myron, the guy that she said she doesn't want to be around, is at. And Walter, Myron's business partner, leaves with her friend, okay? And now she's alone with Myron. And at that point, she decides to hop in the car with somebody that she claims she don't want to be around. She don't want to be alone with. Okay, you're in Miami. Okay, now I believe this story takes place at like, 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning or something like that. You're in Miami. Take an Uber back home, right? You did not have to get in the car with this guy. You didn't have to do any of this stuff. You could have took an Uber back home. Why didn't you do that? Right? I don't understand. But maybe, it's her ego. Maybe she just wants to argue with Myron so bad, right, that she decides to put herself in a situation she claims she doesn't want to be in, simply just to try to tell him off.
Place this spot. I don't know why it was open at 5 a.m., but we sat down, we ate food. And mind you, from the minute of the car to the minute that I left with him, I was debating him the whole time. And not even debating, just telling him how much I hate his views and like him himself. And
see what I tell you guys? Again, somebody she claims she doesn't want to be around. She can't stand them. But it's 5 a.m. in the morning and you're riding around with this guy, knowing his intent, knowing what he wants to do with you, right? You know what he wants. And you're saying, well, I'm doing it because I want to argue with him, right? I want to tell him how bad of a person he is and how much I hate him and his views on women and all this other stuff. Again, this is what I'm talking about. And the fact that Ethan Klein here is just listening to this story and not asking her the same exact questions that I'm pretty sure everybody else has when listening to this story, again, it's a damn shame, right? I mean, you have to ask questions. You can't just let somebody come on your podcast and tell a story like this. Essentially, again, we're going to get to this part, but she's going to accuse this man of Me Too. You can't let her do that without questioning her when there's obvious holes and flaws in the story, right? But again, his goal here is to basically try to smear these guys because he's in this internet beef with them. Again, this is some low life stuff.
yeah, so basically my friend was alone with Fresh and I was alone with Fit. Perfect.
Jesus.
It was a perfect night. I'm talking to him. I'm facing him in the driver's seat. I'm still going. I'm passionate and heated, telling him my views and stuff. And we end up back at the podcast studio. 4 or 5 a.m. in Miami, and like no one's in the studio, but the lights are all on. They have everything set up, and I already knew the way of the apartment. So I'm sitting in the kitchen area of the podcast studio. I'm walking out to the balcony, and there's like a door that I hadn't seen open before. Like basically, it's an apartment that they made into a studio. So that was the bedroom. So I'm walking like towards the bedroom into the balcony, like towards the balcony, and he's standing in the door frame and he just grabs my face and kisses me.
Wow. There you go. He was reading the room, good at reading the signals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look at it like this. You told a guy he told you what he wanted, right? And you came back home with him alone at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. You could have left. What do you think that he was thinking at that point? You willingly went along with everything, including coming back to this man's apartment alone. I'm just saying.
I don't even like thinking about it. I
Right,
just
I'm sorry. I should.
No,
Right.
It's okay.
Right. Let's not relive that moment.
Oh my God, I'm so traumatized by this situation I put myself in. This guy kissed me after I came back to his apartment alone. Oh God.
So I just pushed him off and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to the balcony. And he goes, you need mouthwash.
Ew,
And
what?
Yeah, I was texting my friend the whole time, and you see me say, like, he just told me to get mouthwash or something.
Here, let me pull up this text. Again, guys, we have receipts. This is fully vetted. Bro, mine just grabbed.
Fully vetted, right? Ethan thinks he has a bombshell story here. Bombshell story against Fresh and Fit.
Me to make out, and he goes, get your Listerine. You taste like alcohol. No, he obviously knows you came from the club. He's disgusting.
So I come back in the room, and then I go to the bathroom, like in the kitchen. He's like, that's not where the mouthwash is. So I was like, oh, okay, where's the mouthwash?
Are you a little...
So this man kisses her and says, you need to get mouthwash. Basically, your breath stank. Okay? Your breath stank. Which, I mean, it's common, when you've been out at night and clubbing and doing all this other stuff. instead of leaving, she capitulates and goes to get the mouthwash. Well, why would you go do that, right? Why would you go get the mouthwash knowing that this man tried to kiss you? You would think that if you didn't want him to kiss you, okay, you probably wouldn't get the mouthwash, right? You probably would just be like, you know what, I'm going to leave my breath stink so this man don't want to kiss me, okay? That's what you would think. But she went to go get the mouthwash anyways, okay? Again, this is a very interesting story.
Scared at this moment?
I was very uncomfortable. And
again, why are you still there if you're so uncomfortable? I don't understand. This man's not forcing you to be there.
also, I always forget this part whenever I tell this story, but like a little bit beforehand, I had opened the fridge before like he kissed me and stuff. I had opened the fridge and I saw like he had White Claws, like because they have like alcohol in the fridge and stuff. And they had a White Claw in the fridge, and I was like, "Ooh, White Claw!" I was like, "Oh, can I have one?" Like as a joke, and he was like, "Yeah, you can have one, but just don't tell anybody." Bathroom.
Yeah, because you're underage, right? You're an underage girl. So if he gives you alcohol and the authorities find out, he could possibly go to jail for it, right? That's why he said that. But again, this is a lesson. This is why you don't mess with underage girls, right? Especially when you're a 30-some-plus-year-old man, like I think these guys are, right? Then, at the very least, in their late 20s, in their 30s, why are you messing around with 19-year-old girls? Come on, bro. Come on. Like,
I'm standing in the bathroom, like trying to kill time again, like I did on the balcony. And when I come out, he's like laying on this bed. I come back out, and I was wearing I was wearing a Fresh and Fit hoodie, and
she done put the Fresh and Fit hoodie on, guys. Right? She done put the Fresh and Fit hoodie on. She hate their podcast. She hate them. She hates everything about them. She don't want to be there. She's disgusted. I just ended up with a Fresh and Fit hoodie on. Right? I got their hoodie. I'm wearing their merch now. Oh my God.
I was wearing a Fresh and Fit hoodie, and because they have like a room full of merch, but I asked them, where does it go? They say nowhere. So they all just collectively wear Fresh and Fit like all day long. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's their podcast, right? They are promoting their brand, okay? That's what you do when you have a business, okay? It's very basic. Nothing sketchy about that.
I didn't have the keys to my friend's apartment, so I didn't feel like going, like taking an Uber there and just waiting.
Right.
So I'm like trying to like, again, like give him cues, like I want to leave, I don't want to be here. And he's like, oh, you can sit on the bed. So I sit on the bed, and I'm sitting at the edge of the bed, like the memes, how they're leaving a gap between us. And I'm on my phone, he's on his phone. And I remember, again, I was speaking about my views. Once again, he just jumps on top of me and starts making out with me.
Wow.
Like trying to kiss me and stuff. And so I'm like, I have my hands like on him where it's like, I don't want him like laying on me like intimately. So I'm just holding my hands up, and I'm like, no. This was about like max a minute long, and I was wearing like this shirt, and it's like a very loose shirt, whatever. And he basically lifts up the shirt and made a comment, and then I was like, I'm done, I'm over this. Like, and
Wait,
I
he
said
lifted
to him,
up your shirt and kind of looked at underneath it and commented?
Yeah, my chest, and it was very creepy. It was
so
very weird.
I don't want to. This is bad. This is very bad. I think he may have assaulted you. I mean, at this point,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that, but
What? What? You don't want to say that? So why are you telling the story? Because that's what you're trying to imply. You're trying to imply that he may have assaulted you. So if you don't really feel that way, right, then why are you telling the story? Because the way you're telling the story right now makes me think that, hey, he tried to force this interaction on you, and he started doing this stuff to you that you didn't want, and blah, blah, blah. But now when asked to say, hey, you know what, is this actually assault? I don't necessarily know if I want to go that far. But I want to tell this story, though. I want to tell this story, right? I want to put this out there for the world to know about this guy and what I went through with him. But I'm not going to go as far as to say it was assault, okay? Even though I'm strongly implying that that's what it was. Now, keep in mind, this woman, this girl, is a fan of this man's podcast for whatever reason. I don't know why this dude has fans. But, she knew of his podcast before she even went on Fresh and Fit. She knew of the beef that he had with Fresh and Fit before she even did all this, right? So it's like, to me, I feel like a lot of this is happening because she wanted her moment to be able to go back to H3H3 and to tell this story about her interactions with, Fresh and Fit or whatever, right? And I feel like some of that is playing into what's going on here, okay? Because the story is just simply not making sense at all.
Like, again, like it was very quick. So I was just like, no, like right away in my head, I was like, no, I don't want to have like sex with this person. Like, I don't. So I like, as soon as he like makes that comment, I push him off me and I say, I verbalized to him, I said, I don't want to have sex with you. And he just like went silent. And I was like, okay, like and I changed back into the outfit that I had in the bathroom. And I came out, I give him the merch back, and I say, okay, can you bring me home now? And because my friend was like,
bring me home. You should be trying to get an Uber, bruh. You should be trying to get an Uber. You shouldn't want any more interactions with a man that just puts you in a very uncomfortable situation like that. Again, this is what I'm talking about, man. No personal responsibility, no accountability whatsoever, okay? She's simply just continuing to interact with somebody that she claims that, again, is making her so uncomfortable and such and such and such, right? Again, look, I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying, she knew his intent. She knew what he wanted. And for her to act all surprised and blah, blah, blah when he makes a move, which is what dudes do, again, I just find it to be very disingenuous, and it's really, to me, seems to be more of a smear campaign than her genuinely being so upset or whatever about what happened, because she should have known what was going to go down or what he was going to attempt to do.
Friend was also like drunk at the club with Walter, and she was texting me saying like, I'm going to walk home because he's not bringing me home. And it was just like a whole big
True
thing
gentlemen.
going on.
Both of them are refusing to give you guys rides home.
Yeah, so I had asked Myron, I said, can you drive me to my friend's apartment? And he said, no, I parked my car already.
Awesome.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to order my Uber now. And he was like, okay. Like just acting like a complete toddler. Like in my entire, like I felt like I was looking in the face of a 15-year-old, like a 15-year-old boy that like, oh, I didn't give him a kiss or whatever. Like, but,
well, I mean, I look at it like this. You came all the way over there. You participated in all the activities. After he told you what his intent was, you participated in all the activities that would lead up to what this man wanted. And when he actually went to make the move in regards to what he wanted, something that you knew he wanted, you denied, right? Which you have every right to do. But you got to understand, you can't be upset, or you shouldn't be surprised when he is mad about the fact that you ain't doing what he told you that he wanted to do. Okay, the man got blue balls. So yeah, no, he's probably not going to give you a ride back home because he's not getting what he wanted, right? So now at this point, you have to do what you should have did from the get-go, right? Before you even got in the car with him in the first place to come back to his apartment, which is take an Uber and go back home, right? You should have did that from the get-go. It doesn't matter if your friend was at the apartment. You should have just went there anyways and be like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere where, you know, I don't have to be around him and I can be safe, okay, in a secure location. All those options were available. She chose not to do it, right? And then she want to get mad at him because he's mad that, you know, she ain't putting out, basically.
At that point, excuse me, I feel like I got the burp, but I order my own Uber, and I'm walking out and I'm like, oh, my Uber's coming. Like, can you walk me downstairs? Because I didn't know how to work this building. So he walks me to the elevator, pushes the button, and walks away. And I get into my Uber. And like at that point, I think that's when it kicked in. I started crying because I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I feel uncomfortable. And I that's where you could read the rest of the messages with my friend, because I mentioned everything in there.
You started crying?
Yeah.
I don't blame you. That whole thing is really traumatic. And I'll tell you what. I actually didn't know.
So traumatic, okay? So traumatic. That situation that you could put yourself in, you know, that situation where you literally capitulated to everything that this man was trying to do because of your own ego, because you wanted to argue with him and tell him off and tell him how bad his views was, that you, again, put yourself in a situation where this man reasonably thought that, okay, this girl is here to, you know, do this and do that with me, right? Oh, yes. So traumatic, right? So traumatic. Again, look, situations like this, man, make real situations where women are actually assaulted, okay, and go through, you know, harm, okay? It makes those situations look less believable, because this story right here is just, this is just a woman who's just probably upset that she went through all this with a dude who she didn't like, okay, and he ended up making moves on her, even though she knew that was the situation she was putting herself in, and she didn't like the fact that he was pissed off when he basically kicked her out when she wasn't trying to do what he wanted to do the whole time, right? So again, she thinks that she should just get the nice treatment, regardless of what she does, okay? Just like she thought that, well, I'll go out to dinner with him. I'm not going to have any real intentions with him, but I'll go out to dinner with him just to argue with him, right? So she should just get dinner, right? And that's just not how things work in the real world, okay? He didn't get what he wanted, so he was still with you. It is what it is.
how crazy this story gets at the end. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah, it's all right. I just wanted to bring it more awareness.
I mean, wow,
to this type of stuff.
Awareness to this type of stuff.
The thing that's really crazy is like, if you're hanging out with somebody, you know, you don't always have to give someone a ride home. But what's messed up is they intentionally split you guys up, and then he took you all the way out to the studio, and then basically stranded you there. He's like, well, if you want to leave, you got to fucking...
No, he didn't strand him there. She put herself in that situation because she didn't have to be there. Again, you have Ubers available. Again, it's a shame that this man bought this girl on his podcast and let her tell this story in which, again, she's strongly implying that she was Me Too'd, okay? But not ask her obvious questions about the holes in her story to basically say, okay, were you actually Me Too'd? Or like, do you understand that you also are at fault for what happened here, right? That was questions that this guy should have asked, but he's not doing that because his goal is literally to smear Fresh and Fit, okay, in a way that I think is just really kind of out of bounds, right? Even for internet beef, this happens way too often to guys, in which you have these immature girls that do stuff like this, okay, that lead dudes on for various reasons. And then they put themselves in a situation where guys are like, okay, you know, we're in this situation. You're with me, like, you know, hey, let's do something or whatever. And they don't want to do it. And then all of a sudden, you know, once the dude makes a move, they want to break down and cry about it. And it's like, well, why'd you put yourself in that situation anyways, knowing exactly what the dude wanted? Okay. But again, no responsibility, no accountability on her part. Okay. We're supposed to just feel bad for her, even though she put herself in that situation. And again, this guy right here, the fact that he's pelling this nonsense, in my opinion, is really disgraceful. Right? It's really disgraceful because too many men get falsely accused of stuff because of immature women like this that do stuff like this, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.